my name is Tiffany. Welcome back, or welcome if you've never been here before, and welcome to my vlog for the Romance Takeover Readathon. I am so excited about this readathon. My favorite part about them is the community building, getting to see what you're reading, and the new friendships that come out of it. That's really how I became active with everybody that I love today. Like, it's kind of, I think, the best way to get involved. Also, my parents are in town for my birthday, so I'm going to be, doing a little staycation, going back and forth. It's already begun, and I've already started Mile High. Okay, this beautiful copy was sent to me from Carrie from Booked for Romance. I love you so much. She also gave me this stunning copy of Sea of Ruin. It's like my first and only limited edition cover, and I absolutely love it. So thank you so much, Carrie. This is definitely on my TBR. I've already started it, but I wanted to save it so that I can vlog it. This is going to be for my hyped book prompt. It's also over 400 pages, and I'm loving it so far. I've met Xander and I've met Stevie. Xander is a bit of a bad boy, also playboy hockey player. He's the co-captain of his team, and his persona is really what's been fueling his career. And now Stevie is a flight attendant. The league has chosen not to switch out their crews, so they're going to be forced into proximity throughout this season, and I just loved their meet cute. The banter between them, the sort of like workplace warring, it's luscious. So I'm loving this so far. I will get probably more into this ad nauseum. So I'm going to go over the rest of the books that are on my radar because I suspect that I'm going to be picking more up. And I'm definitely going to be reading For the Fans by Nyla K. This was sent to me by Cynthia from Kindle After Dark. Thank you! She keeps sending me books. And I know that this is going to be a stepbrother forbidden Grumpy Sunshine where they will be starting an OnlyFans. I do not know how they're going to be thrust into the situation, but I cannot wait for it. I also want to read Lacuna. That's going to be by N.R. Walker. Now, I've loved everything that I've picked up by N.R. Walker so far. Oh my gosh, the weight of it all evolved. Here, this is a full-fledged fantasy romance. It's going to be MM. There's going to be kingdoms and warring factions, and I cannot wait for it. I'm also really interested in reading Hawk. Hawk by Jessie Hall was also sent to me by Cynthia, and I know that this is dark romance. It is going to have a hero that was an ex-con. They're going to be forced into proximity by a roommate situation, and I'm here for it, okay? And I have yet to do my February wrap up, okay? As soon as my parents are out of town, I plan on filming that. But this is going to be the second by Elizabeth Stevens for me, and it will be Taken to Varaxia. The cover is stunning. And sort of like Lord of Population, which is the first book that I read by her. It is centered around an alien invasion, except it's in space. I cannot wait to see what this is about. I really enjoyed Lord of Population by Elizabeth Stevens. That's a post-apocalyptic alien invasion world. And I can't. I'm here for it. I will be talking about that book soon. And then, okay, lastly, I need to be reading Take My Daddy or I'll Take Yours by Jenika. And this is a part of my vow to collect every cover that Wander is on, like Horcruxes, and get him to sign them at Book Bonanza. I always say that Wander is a thirst trap of the global variety because he absolutely is. But if you don't know, he's also a photographer that is responsible for the cover list of many romance novels. And I learned that when I went to Wanderlust last year. And, he's just so kind and generous with his time. It's really sweet. I also saw him at Love in Las Vegas. And so I want every single cover that he's going to be on. And this is part of it, okay? I know that this is about a woman that's upset that her father is remarrying somebody that's basically her same age. She has a one-night stand at their wedding, and it just so happens to be with her new stepmother's father. So I can't wait to get into it, okay? And start the collecting. I'm not really sure what else I'm going to be picking up. I know I'm going to be influenced. I know the first couple of days of this, I'm going to be busy because I want to spend time with my parents. So I will pop in when I can. And I will be back when I have more thoughts. Happy reading. See you soon. in Mile High. And oh, thank you so much, Cynthia, for this copy. It's gorgeous. Cynthia from Kindle After Dark, and everybody that sent me book mail, thank you so much. Thank you. So getting into this, what I'm really enjoying about it is how they both seem to eclipse each other emotionally when it comes to their mental hangups. For Xander, that stems from abandonment due to his upbringing, and that seems to be constantly agitated by his public image of being a bad boy, okay, on the ice, and a playboy in his personal life, supposedly. And I absolutely love how he gets curious enough with Stevie to where he wants to bring her in, and he wants to introduce her to the man that he truly is and the man that he is with his found family. And I like how it's almost instinctual for him. I mean, he can't get enough, right, of her. And this is the same sort of sentiment that I felt with The Right Move, where I enjoy how her heroes think about the heroines. They pay attention, and then they take action, to the point where his thoughtfulness has Stevie advocating for his true self to come to the forefront because it's so incongruent with his public image. I mean, it's cashing the checks, okay? But it doesn't affirm for him that he could be loved for his true self. And so I love that sort of like slow getting to know each other between them, and due to forced proximity. And slowly, he becomes this like soft place for her to land. And I'm loving the curvy heroine representation in this book because it feels like she's a heroine that has done work on herself, and she is confident. But a lot of her hangups have to do with outside messaging, right? Mainly body shaming from her own mother. And I like how this is holding space for the chiseling effect that can have, despite her being a person that seems very fulfilled. I mean, she's chosen a profession that she's passionate about and has stimulating hobbies and has done that, you know, despite her mother's viewpoint. And yet, I like how this talks about how outside viewpoints can be grating, whether that's coming from a ridiculous woman at work, okay, friends that she should have cut off, or even from inside her own family, her mother. And so I like the balance in that, where the curvy heroine representation isn't the extreme of her being self-deprecating or fully arrived at self-acceptance and take me as I am, which I do like to read. But that sort of journey is something that I enjoy reading, because personally, you know, I know my self-value and I know my worth. But when I step out into the world, that's not always affirmed. And it has been a hard-won journey to affirm that for myself, despite what space I'm inhabiting. And so I'm enjoying reading that with her. And also just the fact that body worship, okay, has been ushered into the chat. I love body worship on the page. I love it for how the character can see themselves through their love interest's eyes. Oh my God, it's just like catnip for me. And the way that it's done in this book, I mean, something doesn't fit, okay? Stevie put something on, and the way that Xander handles that situation and sort of like systematically counters the way that she is feeling about herself, thought by thought. It's beautiful. Oh, it is my catnip. It's my catnip. And so, you know, that scene really did it for me. Like, Lizelle was like, there's a certain scene in this book and I really want you to DM me after you read it. And I just ate that up. Ugh. Anyway, okay, so I'm still in this book. I am enjoying it. I will be back, okay? I'll try to be back with something else that I've picked up as well, because I've been reading this book for a while. So I will be back with more thoughts. it is late, and I definitely need to wrap up Mile High because I've started my next read. I'm gonna rate this 5 stars. The third act really felt driven by Xander in his quest to become the man that he feels he needs to be for Stevie. But I do think that they both do the work on themselves in order to come back to one another. And there is an aspect in this, just completely out of context, that I liked about the third act when it came to them both being emotionally ready for each other, yet the timing just wasn't so. I just thought that that was very exemplar of life. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but it's like there have been moments in my life where I was ready with the big speech. I was ready to embark on that next chapter, yet life just said, let's just hold for a beat. And so there is a moment where they sort of miss each other in the third act that I thoroughly enjoyed. But I rated this 5 stars, okay? Thank you again, Carrie and Cynthia, for sending me physical copies of this book. And I'm also reading For the Fans by Nyla K. This was sent to me by Cynthia from Kindle After Dark as well. You spoil me. Thank you so much. It's incredibly kind. And the books are hitting. I cannot thank you enough for loving on me in this way. I just could not wait to get into this. This is my first Nyla K, okay? I knew going in that it was going to be an MM stepbrother situation and that somehow they would be starting an OnlyFans together. And for me, when it comes to like forbidden and taboo reads and step sibling dynamics, I definitely need that moniker of step to be up in here, okay? Like step dad, step uncle, step mother. Whatever it is, I need step. It's just what I've learned over the years and everything that I've tried and picked up. And this definitely fits the bill. And what I am finding just so refreshing, 2 big things, at least for my reading tastes, is that this doesn't start when they are children, okay? We're meeting them as seniors in high school when their families are being reluctantly blended together, at least reluctantly for them. And another aspect that I love about this is that the attraction between them isn't being forced on me. Sometimes with step sibling romances, I find that the attraction comes out of left field and it really isn't authorized by anything on the page other than the author trying to make the trope happen, especially with some of the things that I pick up. Bully romances, if it's hate to love, if it's contentious between them. And it just is so nice to feel like the attraction isn't being forced this early in the game, okay? And it's also fitting for the story because neither of our heroes are live to their own sexuality yet. This really feels like a true opposites attract is being developed, as well as a very hate and resentment, at least on the part of Kieran, and a strong dislike and avoidance on the part of Avi is being pitted against each other. As I said, they meet as seniors in high school when their families are being blended together. And Kieran is our grumpy, broody quarterback. Okay, he is affluent, he has it all because his father is very successful in business, and yet he's wound up so tightly. And he has this sort of rift between him and his father that I have not become privy as to why yet, but Avi storming into his life with his new stepmother and animating his father in a way that he has not experienced in such a long time has created this sort of resentment, and he's angry at Avi. And also Avi is this sort of like easy breezy, okay, cavalier, artistic stoner. Kieran sees him as the type of person that just sort of like breezes through life and makes a joke of everything, while for Kieran everything is just painstakingly planned and a push. And I love how for Avi, I mean, this is not like an ideal situation for him either, okay? He doesn't want to be forced to share a home and a bathroom with this jock and bully, but he's making the best of the situation. And he does sort of needle Kieran in a way by hitching his wagon, so to speak, to Kieran's escape plan, which is college, by applying to the same university. And when he gets in, they are forced to be on the same campus. But I'm now with them, okay, in college. And again, I'm loving that they're leading two separate lives. I have no idea how they're going to be starting this OnlyFans and why, because they really want for nothing. And so I'm thoroughly enjoying those aspects and the time that was really spent to kind of build to this point. And you know, we're not getting a lot of fluff. So I'm really interested in seeing what happens. I'm loving the writing. I'm loving the time taken on setting it up. So I will be back when I have more thoughts. This is my first Nyla K and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I can't wait to see what she does with it. It is a tome. She's a little thick, okay? She's over 500 pages, so we'll see and I'll be back. We have a lot to discuss. Okay, I have finished the arc for Marrow, written by Brynne Weaver and Trisha Wolfe. I mean, it's hardly anticipated, but I need to wrap up, okay, for the Fans by Nyla K. That was a 5-star read. I mean, it has that uppercut of swoon that I was not expecting because of that salacious hook of stepbrothers starting an OnlyFans. To be quite honest, I was expecting it to be heavier on the steam, which it is, but that steam is doing something. And even prior to them getting thrust into this situation, which also is sort of a workplace, okay? They're sex workers and they treat it like a job, but the need was established and I could get behind it. I was really interested in seeing how she was going to get me to believe that Kieran would be down for a situation like that because of how they start in this book. And financial struggle is always going to hook me in. We all come into books with our own experiences. I don't know, you know, if you've noticed, the cost of living has gone up. Okay, I don't know if you've made life decisions at the gas pump. Honestly, like sometimes I'm at that gas station and I'm just grateful to be there. I'm just grateful to have something to be guzzling that expensive elixir. And at least it's that today. So like I can get behind their need in this book and the way that that kind of came about. But the steam in this, it's so reluctant and explorative and it's insatiable. And I love steam that feels like they're coming up for air. And it's also serves to, because they are dealing with it as if it is work, because it does bring up the issues in their personal lives and how they present to everyone else. And there are trigger warnings for religious trauma. That rift I think I talked about between Kieran and his father. There are trigger warnings for assault in this book, so be aware of that. And the way that that is handled was actually something that I really enjoy on the page, which is that healing isn't linear. This book holds space for that, and I enjoyed that third act, and I just, oh my God, they were so meant to be. They were so meant to be. They were so meant to be. This is beautiful. And I also like how she took the time to break it down in that third act, and she took the pages to introduce us to new charities. So I absolutely loved For the Fans by Nyla K. Oh my God, it's incredibly romantic. It's incredibly romantic. The declarations and what they do to showcase their love for each other. Oh, stand out. It was stand out. It was stand out. And okay, I need to get into Marrow. I need to get into Marrow. I need to get into this book. It was a highly anticipated read for me. I am just so excited that I even got an arc. I rarely put in for them because I don't know who I'm going to be that day of release day. I always want to make sure that I'm getting those reviews out on the day that I've agreed to do that because it's gracious for them to even give me this arc. So I was just so excited to get into it, and it did not disappoint. I love how they recast that workplace romance by setting it in this cutthroat academic space that had a darker edge, being that Dr. Jack Sorensen is a forensic anthropologist, and his research requires for him to have a body farm. Okay. And not only does this like make for just prime hunting ground, it also actually serves his serial unaliving. I just loved that bit. And this starts out with a dark and humorous bang. Okay, because Dr. Kyrie Roth is set out on vengeance. She's giving like sociopath sunshine. I loved it so much. And her elaborate plan to get back at Jack was just such a showstopper in the beginning of this book, where she reveals who she actually is and the fact that she knows who and what he is and what he does. She is his true equal, okay? And he finally sees her, but the problem with that is that Jack is convinced that two people hunters of their caliber cannot occupy the same space for long before getting caught. And so he's sort of trapped into this, I don't know, game of lion versus lioness and who gets to claim this territory. This face-off between them was just delicious. The reveals on Kyrie's ire towards Jack was not only like shocking and sobering, there's a faded quality to it. The reluctant chemistry between them, it's just combustible. It really was. And I loved how they're getting to know each other through her coercion, all at the same time, for romance reasons, that authorities are on their track. So they're staying 3 steps ahead. That plot was moving. That made this a page turner as I was becoming more invested in who they were individually as characters. You know, I'm always talking about the gray matter when it comes to a psychopath romance. And this definitely had that. And it also served for their emotional connection. This was unlocking new kinks for me, okay? It was unlocking new kinks. And I loved this theme. But what I also loved is that it also fostered trust between them. The things that they are doing are demonstrations of their connection and their trust in the other. And I loved that in this book. This just had all of the heady power dynamics that I devour. And I thought it was incredibly balanced because, as I said, that plot was moving. And I just swooned, most importantly, at how this was bookended with 2 scenes, the beginning and the last, the growth, okay? I absolutely loved this book. It was just so satiating. I couldn't put it down. As soon as I got it, like I got it in the gym. I'm sure I gave you like a clip of that. And I completely finished it. I absolutely loved it. I rated it 5 stars. You know, it's so smart, okay? This was so smart and sensual. And I think they did an incredible job. So I cannot wait for it to release. I'm definitely going to be doing a reread. I cannot wait to get a physical copy and annotate that thing. I absolutely love this. Did I say that enough? I'm sorry. Okay, so moving on. But lastly, after that, I did read Take My Daddy and I'll Take Yours by Jenika Snow. I have been collecting, or I want to be collecting, all of the covers with Wander on it this year because I would like him to sign them at Book Bonanza. And I'm just excited. And so I ended up rating this 4 stars. This, really was about a heroine that ends up having a one-night stand at her father's wedding. At her father's wedding, where he is marrying a woman that's not only her age, but one that she went to school with and is basically her bully. And what I really enjoyed about this, it is very steamy. It's also insta-lovey. The hero in this is utterly obsessed. He's intrigued in the beginning, but he does go about claiming her in a very dominant and systematic way. What surprised me about this book is how their relationship, which just so happens to be a little taboo because she quickly finds out that the one-night stand is her new stepmother's father. And I love how their relationship really changes her new familial dynamic. How her father and the hero advocate for her within that. And more importantly, how 2 female characters can come together and heal. Okay, come together after being on different ends and like work through that. I liked seeing that on the page. That was very counter. You know, I'm not one that likes other woman drama in a story, or women being pitted against each other. And they really are able to work through that because of the romance in this book. So that's what I really liked about this. And I rated it 4 stars. And I'm not sure what I'm gonna get into next, but I like just feel like I'm on cloud 9. Like, Marrow was so good, For the Fans was so good. Like, those are definitely going to be favorites of the month for me. And it's just like, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And I don't think I've said it enough. If you've sent me a freaking book for my birthday or ever, thank you. I just keep looking at that table. I have all of my books there. And it's just like, it is baffling to me that you would send me anything. And it's just so kind. It is just so kind. So thank you so much for all of my book mail. I'm gonna add all of the additions to my library probably at the end of the month in a stats video, but like, so I'm trying to keep them separated, and I'm just kind of like in awe every time I look at that stack. So thank you so much. I will be back when I have more thoughts. I'm having a great readathon so far. See you soon. And I'm back weeks later. Okay, weeks later. I have had technical difficulties, and I was trying to figure out how to recover the audio for, quite frankly, not only the remainder of this readathon vlog, but for just my wrap-up clips in general in the month of March. And so I'm finally sitting down to refilm it all. And so we must start with Under the Northern Sky by L.L. Meyer. This was one of the last few reads of the readathon. It's a captor-captive forced marriage type situation where we meet Rhaena on the road when she's on her way to a barbarian realm to marry the leader of her people's long-standing enemy. And instead of arriving as a bride, she arrives as a captive because she's accused of murder on the way there, and the clan is thirsty for blood, and Luca is trying to discern whether or not she did it, what happened, and if he should honor this peace treaty and still marry her. I loved the dynamic between them. I loved her ire and her fight and her will despite her being in those circumstances. I also love when we have like an outsider heroine and she becomes like Lady of the Manor, and what she does for his clan in terms of the status of women. There's a lot of systemic change in this. There's so much that she adds to him as a hero and to his people. I just thought this was so well done. There are trigger warnings. This is a dark romance, just the violence against women, as well as, you know, the consequences for dissension. We are in a barbarian realm, baby. I mean, it was action-packed. And I also love how they were both reluctant to fall. He even believes that he's under her spell. Well, quite frankly, he was. But I rated this 4.5 stars. I absolutely loved the writing. It felt like a historical fantasy. It was lyrical, but still grounded, meaning I could still track it. When it came to all of the lore of his clan and the terrain, it was just beautifully done. So I rated it 4.5 stars, and I absolutely loved it. Next, I remember picking up a novella. It was called The Merman's Kiss by Tamsin Lay. I believe that's the author. I'm going to throw up the cover right here. Unfortunately, this didn't really work for me. I rated it 2 stars. The beginning was promising. There are trigger warnings for the loss of a child, as well as suicidal ideation and an attempt, because at the beginning of this book, the heroine chooses to take her life by jumping into the ocean. After losing her child, she's in a very cold marriage, and our hero rescues her. And it took a quick and like sharp, superficial turn after that. I did not understand this theme at all. It was written in such a flowery way. I kind of had to go back later on in the book. I guess there was steam when he rescues her, which is supposed to reinforce their mating bond, but I felt like their entire connection was based off attraction, and I thought that was such a missed opportunity because the setup for this world was really cool. I liked hearing about like the plight of mermen, being that mermaids were polygamous and they were actually kind of villainized, and they left mermen to raise children. And so I loved how possessive he was, but I just could not buy or get into their connection. And I'm always in for like a bonkers plot and ride, but there was something about the execution of this that just wasn't hitting. The writing did not live up to the ambition. I'll just say that. So I ended up rating Merman's Kiss 2 stars. And I ended the readathon off with, I believe it may even be like a favorite of the year, and that's When the Earl Met His Match by Stacy Reid. By Stacy Reid, honey, okay? She was just showing off in this book. I absolutely loved it. I love how they sort of embark on a pen pal situation when our hero, who is the heir to his earldom, Hugh, puts an ad out for a wife. And our heroine, Phoebe, can't help but needle him, and so she responds to it. And they engage in this sort of pen pal relationship where they share their very differing beliefs on love, until Phoebe gets compromised or ruined by getting pregnant with a man that's below her station. And in order to save her child, because what her parents have planned for her is quite frankly sickening, she reaches out to Hugh and proposes a marriage of convenience. And she's on the run at this point when she shows up on his doorstep. She's not at all expecting him to be the heir to an earldom or for him to be non-speaking. And I was not expecting the communication in this book to just be so sound and done so well, meaning that they're honest with each other from the front. She's honest and forthcoming about why she's there, and I loved how Hugh is not only a man of honor and a man of duty, he was also raised to never marry for love, because his mother left him and his father at such a young age. And the relationship that he had with his father in this book was just so heartwarming for me, especially we're in Stacy Reid. If you know, a lot of her characters have familial trauma. And I think that his father really just wanted Hugh to never have to live with the heartbreak that he had to endure. And so I loved that bit of this book. But the communication was sound. And this was really a marriage of convenience where they become friends. For a majority of the book, they are married and friends, and then it turns into lovers. And Hugh is so reluctant to love, yet he pays such close attention to her, and he's so thoughtful that his father notices and tries to help him not walk off that ledge. But from just all of the caretaking and the ways that he goes about communicating his past with her, and just how they get to know one another, the way that he takes care of her while she's pregnant, and the third act being stuck for me, because it makes a lot of sense when it comes to their backstories and his trauma. And something that I think that she did very well, that I would have hoped more from other books that I've picked up from her, is that the issues that the heroine has, that Phoebe has with her family, are dealt with. And I just, this was incredibly romantic. I loved the pacing. It is a slow burn, and it was immensely felt, honey. I loved The Earl Met His Match. It's definitely 5 stars. And I wrapped up the readathon with a rec from Diana and the Book Hunt. She dropped a wrap up the last day of the readathon. And this is why I love readathons, because I love meeting new people. I had no idea about her channel. And in this wrap up, she recommended The Escape Artist by Kitty Thomas, which I did end up reading and enjoying. And I really enjoyed how she talked about how this is a dark romance, it's a captor-captive situation, and she talked about the BDSM elements as well as their emotional connection. And I also enjoyed how she wrapped up her thoughts on the books that didn't work for her. And so I'm scrolling through, looking at thumbnails of books that I'm reading and books that I've been meaning to get to. And new subscriber here, I was so happy to find her channel. And in the month of March, she did a series of videos where she's uplifting women through booktubers, characters on the page, authors and sharing her Bulgarian traditions. So I'm so happy that I found her channel, and this is why I love Readathon. So I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on The Escape Artist by Kitty Thomas as soon as I'm done wrapping up this video. But I want to thank you for joining me. Please consider subscribing and sticking around, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.